A Jasper furniture company will be closing its doors after nearly 70 years in existence. More on that. Plus, the Du Bois County Emerging Leaders have announced this year's grant recipient, and Steve Lindauer and Dave Englert discuss Toys for Tots tonight on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. Jasper-based Inwood Office Furniture has announced they are planning to shut down operations later this month. In a news release, company chairman Glenn Sturm says the closing will take effect on November 26th. Sturm cited the negative impact to the wood furniture business stemming from the economic downturn as reason for the closing. He says changes in the market were not sustainable for Inwood long term. Inwood Office Furniture currently employs 85 people. Sturm says all employees, suppliers, and vendors will be paid in full. Sturm also announced new ownership for the building and land once operations cease. Braun Family Properties has purchased the area. Meyer Distributing, among others, will lease space at the Inwood location. Inwood was incorporated back in 1948. It was formerly known as the Jasper Table Company. Efforts on Huntingburg's Stellar Communities project have changed direction just a bit. Last night, the Huntingburg City Council heard more on the change from the city's Stellar Committee. The larger Stellar Committee has now been divided into smaller subcommittees to focus on the specific projects. This plan comes following the large committee's recent meeting with state officials on Stellar funding. Huntingburg Mayor Denny Spinner says the split was needed to make projects move as smoothly as possible.
Individuals on the Stellar Committee have taken chairman positions on those specific projects because these are projects that are going to require a lot of public input, a lot of discussion on what the final project will look like.
Spinner says the subcommittees will be meeting later this month. He is hopeful that the conversations will lead to them coming back to the council next month. At that point, a more definitive timeline of how the Stellar projects would move forward could be unveiled. Also last night, the council approved a slight change to the city's tax abatement policy. Under that change, several standards are put in place to allow for underutilized or vacant properties to be eligible for 100% tax abatement. These would include the property being at least 40 years old with at least 20,000 square feet of space. Spinner says though full abatement would not be guaranteed, it sets a standard for the city.
What this does is it sets some very specific ideas and constraints on what types of projects we would be willing to waive that abatement for, or waive those taxes, a tax abatement over that extended period.
Other restrictions would include at least $5 million of investment in the property itself and the property having been vacant for at least 5 years. Final approval for each case would be the decision of the council. Well, congratulations goes out to Mike Jones with the Memorial Hospital Foundation. During today's annual Jasper Chamber of Commerce luncheon, Jones was honored with the 2014 President's Community Excellence Award. Jones, who serves as the executive director of the foundation, says he was very surprised to win the award. He says helping other people and serving his community are things that he has always enjoyed doing.
I get no greater joy out of doing anything than when I'm helping someone or serving someone or doing something that really helps somebody else.
Jones began his professional career as a teacher of speech and theater in West Hartford, Connecticut. After teaching for 18 years, he returned to Jasper and worked as a financial planner for American Express's IDS Financial Services prior to serving with the Hospital Foundation. Now, this year's Chamber dinner featured Kimball International President and CEO Bob Schneider and Don Sharon, the President and CEO for the newly independent Kimball Electronics, as speakers. Recently retired Kimball International President and CEO James Tenn also spoke today. Tenn, who had worked for Kimball since 1966, says there's one thing that he'll remember most about his time.
The great people in the company, the great people around the world, and the number of people in China, in Eastern Europe, Thailand, every place we've been, who really admire our value system, the Midwest culture, and who we are.
Now, this year was a successful year in all for the Jasper Chamber. Executive Director Nancy Eckerly says there were 35 new members added and 15 ribbon cuttings for new businesses. Today also marked a change in leadership for the Jasper Chamber. Cheryl Leakin, who represents Kimball International, will now be president of the board of directors. She replaces outgoing president Jane Ballsmeyer. Finally this evening, the DuBois County Emerging Leaders have announced their 2014 grant recipient. The group held its live voting party last night at Hedinger Beverage in Jasper. Mentors for Youth was this year's grant winner. The grant is for $5,000. Courtney Canese is the executive director for Mentors for Youth. She says the money will help to further the organization's efforts.
Mentors for Youth will stay focused on our mission, which is mutually beneficial, facilitating mutually beneficial relationships between youth and adults in the community. So we're going to continue to work on the one-on-one matches, support the 45 current matches, and get matches for the 30 youth on the wait list.
Other finalists this year were A Kid's Place, the DuBois County Humane Society, Tri-County YMCA, and Survivors of Suicide of DuBois County. 19 organizations in all entered their names for this year's grant. There were 2 rounds of voting. The first one selected finalists. The second one produced the winner. Now, it's been a busy third year for the Emerging Leaders. Last night's grant party capped off a year that saw several new members join the group, including Brianne Hassenauer. She says the opportunity to be part of the group was just too good to pass up, and says the group would be a great opportunity for anyone.
Anybody that's looking to get involved needs to contact somebody, maybe Jessica or anyone else, because they are very helpful in explaining as to what happens. It's very fun, laid-back atmosphere. You learn a lot. You get to meet a lot of new people.
Several veteran members of the group are expressing their optimism for the future, including Judah De Lorenzo. He says continued community engagement will be key to the future success of Emerging Leaders.
I think it's just growing with the community and learning as the community changes what are the needs of the community and how we can impact that.
Emerging Leaders has now given nearly $18,000 back to the community since its founding in 2012. For more information about Emerging Leaders, you can go online to elgiving.org. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Guxell, and Inform with Steve Lindauer and Dave Englert. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.